Peace. This presentation is to bring some clarity to some happenings in our media concerning our universal flag. Early last month on the Culture Day of Just Allah Now, I visited the guard Rasheen, along with the guard's sun guard, to deal in some social equality. When we arrived at the guard's rest, the guard went through some Medina history. He then mentioned that he would like to build with Saladin.
And I was listening to the brother Saladin, you know. I like to talk to that brother.
The infamous individual that took it upon himself to trademark the universal flag.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to build with brothers after going through dealing with that, the trademark of the flag. After brothers got on him about that, he I guess he felt he knew better, and I guess he still feels he knows better, and that the brothers,
I could see certain aspects of that, but he went and did it, saying he spoke to certain people that gave me okay. He didn't speak to me.
During this build with Rasheen, he shared some memories he had with the actual designer of the universal flag, Universal Shamgar, and what he said about the universal flag.
I know what Shamgar told me when I was getting ready to go downtown, when the flag was being sold in a few outlets downtown, different stores and stuff like that. And
now this is while Shamgar was still alive.
Yeah. And we had the brief encounter on Claremont Avenue and right off of DeKalb Avenue, head of Medina. We had a spot we used to go to. He was sitting there drinking a glass of wine or something, and I rolled up on him because I just came from seeing Melchizedek. I had just got 500 flags from him. He had our flags, but he wouldn't give up the mold. Me and old man Kusar. I brought the flags to Shamgar. He told me what to do, and I gave the flags out, right? And I mentioned to him that I was getting ready to go downtown and straighten out these people that were, selling our flag over the counter. And he said, "Don't do that." And I just looked at him, he said, "Rasheen, what do you want to do that for?" I said, "Man, them people down there, I'm ready to go down there and just vamp." Because, that was how we work. We didn't hesitate. If we felt we were right, we just went and did it. Consequences may be what they were. But he said, "No, you can't do that. I don't want you to do that." I said, "All right, why not?" He said, "Because that ain't nothing but free advertisement." That ain't nothing. If the flag is being spread, let them take it all over the world. It's free advertising. He said, "Do you realize how much it would cost me to advertise our flag so we can get around so people can see it? They doing it for free for me." And I had to accept that.
This is what Shamgar said.
Universal told me that out of his mouth. We sitting there at the bar drinking, we having a drink, and I came with fire. And he said, "No, he calmed that shit down." He said, "No, Rasheen, I understand where you're coming from. But there's a way to handle them with certain things." But he said, "Let them do what they're doing. But all they're doing is just giving us free advertisement. They're the ones that's paying for that shit, not us." And the flag is all over the place. I didn't take it there. I wasn't worried about the copyrights and warranty, whatever they call that stuff.
Now, I shared this clip on this YouTube page a few days later. Now, apparently, Mr. Quinaya Saladin saw it and decided to write an article in response to it. Okay, peace. Now, the reason why I'm dignifying this article with a response, because he made some points that I would like to address. Now, let me state, I don't think he's 100% wrong. However, he isn't 100% right and exact either. And since he refuses to come to a parliament to build about it, or come to a show and prove to present his ideas, nor does he want to build with anyone outside of his choice individuals, I'll address his article this way. I left the link to this article in the description so that you can read it for yourself. I'm sure Mr. Quinaya will appreciate the promotion of his writings. He opened the article with, 2 years ago, on December 21st, 2021, I successfully registered the elements of our universal flag as a Class 41 trademark with the United States Patent and Trademark Office and U.S. Customs and Border Protection. He goes on to state, By law, you cannot trademark a flag. So this trademark was not defined or described as a flag in the USPTO application. This trademark defined, described, and included all the elemental arrangements of our universal flag. This ensured it could be trademarked not as a flag, while simultaneously protecting our flag in the public domain from any similar elemental arrangements that would infringe upon our registered trademark, marrying our universal flag onto the government without the permission or notification of nation members.
He didn't come and ask us nothing about the flag. He didn't ask us nothing.
Now, I will state that I do recognize his intentions, which was to federally protect the flag by way of its design so that no one could infringe on its design in no way, shape, or form without the nation's permission, which is not a bad idea. However, it was done in a fraudulent way. He states that some of our nation members, most likely talking about me because I mentioned this in my discussion with Rasheen, were and are under the false impression that simply claiming that we have been using the universal flags since the 1960s is enough to prove ownership in a court of law against an individual or company that actually owns his elemental arrangements as a federally registered trademark, to which he says is sadly untrue. This sounds like he's addressing the part of the video when I said,
when I was dealing with Dark Kim about that, is that the history being that, like you said, the government already did that, or law had, and we have a long history since 1967.
Yes.
We have just archives of that this is our flag, so we don't have to actually register it with the government. We have a history of it, and it's proven. It's already proven that, you know what I'm saying? So we don't have to actually register it. But I think that the brother believes that he was correct, and I think he feels a way about it, and he kind of separated himself from the whole.
Now let me make a note that some of his points are valid, yet he isn't all the way right and exact. He states that common use is almost equivalent to no use at all, which isn't 100% right and exact. In fact, common law still holds weight in this situation. While federal registration provides additional benefits, common law rights are not negligible. He states that old Xerox copies, power papers, and other materials with universal flags on them from back in the day are only considered common law. These materials are not federally registered trademarks that secure nationwide legal protection, nor can you use them to file a claim in federal court to sue for damages if someone infringes upon your common use, which is not 100% right and exact either. Common law trademarks are based on use rather than the registration with the government authority. As Rasheen pointed out in my discussion with him, the government put the flag on the school in 1967.
When we gave the flag to the father, when Shangar gave the flag to the father, brothers just have to, it's a history, everybody knows it. The father accepted it. The father took it to the government, they accepted it. They're the ones that printed our first flags. Government already know about it, but the thing is, the people are the ones that are not educated enough to understand what the government did.
In addition to giving the nation our first pins of the universal flag, the fact that the 5% nation flag has been in continuous use since 1967 establishes a history of use, which is a key factor in common law trademark rights. The 5% nation flag is widely known and has been associated with the nation since its design in 1967. And has been in use all over the world in association with the 5% ever since. The flag design has become distinctive and widely recognized as associated with the 5% nation, which strengthens the common law protection. The fact that New York City government officially displayed the flag on the Street Academy window, in addition to giving the first pins of the universal flag to young 5%ers of the time, can be considered additional evidence in supporting distinctiveness and recognition of the design and all its elemental arrangements. We have extensive archives, records of the flag's use, such as photographs, promotional material, documentation, showing evidence of its continual use, which also strengthens the common law rights. So him saying that Xerox copies, power papers, and other materials with the universal flag on them from back in the day are only considered common law is correct, yet it is not 100% right to say that it doesn't hold weight in court on a federal or state level. It is still possible to file a claim in federal court based on common law rights, especially considering established use, geographical recognition, distinctive and governmental recognition, as well as our historic evidence of use. Now, I would like to note that I'm not a lawyer.
You must do your own research.
However, neither is he. We both have studied the science of trademark as it relates to our universal flag, and both have come to different conclusions. Yet we do have lawyers amongst us. This is why it's important for us to come together. Not just him or I, yet rather all of us who have an interest in our universal flag and this culture to decide how we should move going forward. He writes, with his experience that he has gained, he began to write and speak extensively on the litigious society being in an IP era, IP meaning intellectual property. He used the word litigious a few times in this article, which means a person, group, or society that is prone to using legal action or resorting to litigation to resolve conflicts and disputes. He is correct in that we live in a litigious society where people, businesses, and corporations are prone to go to court to resolve issues and problems. Yet it is clear that he overlooks that the 5% nation is not a litigious culture that resolves issues and conflicts through the courts. We resolve issues by coming together and building via universal parliaments. However, that is not to say that we can't or won't do things in a litigious way, especially in a litigious society. This is something for all of us to decide, not just one person deciding from the outskirts of Niagara Falls. He arrogantly states that some nation members shared with him that he was wrong for not presenting the initiative to them personally or to the 5% nation collectively. This statement shows that he feels that he knows better than all of us and that he can make such a decision without speaking to us, and that he could take such action and then let us know after the fact. He further states that he decided against notifying us in the interest of time and to prompt an immediate plan of action and national response from our nation members, making a proactive decision to financially secure it for us. See, the problem I have with this is his arrogance that makes him think that he can make such a decision of this magnitude without speaking to the 5% nation collectively, as if he knows better than everyone that has an interest in the universal flag. He didn't bring it to a parliament or show and prove. He brought it to a select few individuals of his own choosing and essentially deemed the rest of us unworthy of his time.
He didn't speak to me.
His reasoning for initiating that intellectual property initiative was to put in place legal safeguards for us to control our national narrative and maintain our cultural identity, overlooking our legit common law rights that he vows as null and void, and forcefully entering everyone that has an interest in the universal flag into a fraudulent marriage to the federal government with his name attached that he can later give to whoever he decided to. The guard Rasheen, who had a close relationship with the designer of the flag, expressed that Mr. Quinaya did not speak to him about it.
He didn't come and ask us nothing about the flag. He didn't ask us nothing. And then does he know about us?
He arrogantly put himself in the position to take those that he saw fit to make the final decision while simultaneously avoiding the rest of us, because he felt he didn't have the time to speak to the rest of us about this so-called socio-economic move via a parliament or show and prove, calling himself Saladin, the one who took Jerusalem from the devil. He actually said that on a Zoom call. He states that the following successful registration of this trademark, he sent the above January 7th, 2022 Universal Flag Board email to various 5%ers in different regions. See, it was never clear to me who was a part of this board. According to Rasheen, it didn't include him, CLR, or Akim, who all had close relationships with the designer of that flag, Universal Shamgar.
The root of the flag is in Medina, and it was planted in Mecca. The father accepted it in Mecca. That's what I'm saying, God. So all this other stuff, unless I'm missing something, But I know I was here with I used to walk, talk, and eat and shit with the brothers that, created the flag, and two of them are still here. Kim and CLR, they were all part of that with Shamgar. They all contributed in some kind of way, But he didn't come and ask us nothing about the flag.
He says his reasoning for initiating that intellectual property initiative was to put in place legal safeguards for us to control our national narrative and maintain our cultural identity. However, in doing so, he briefly put himself in the driver's seat of that national narrative and cultural identity without the consent of those he claims to represent. Although I recognize the positive intentions of his actions.
And I can understand he meant well, and I can understand what he's trying to do in order to incorporate the flag in a certain way where nobody could do with it what they want to do but us. I agree with that, but it's how he did it.
These intentions are overshadowed by the defective communication with all those that the flag represents. Because he initiated the trademark process, his name originally appeared on the application. He stated that he sought out a diverse group of 5%ers to form a committee that the trademark ownership would be transferred to, and the committee would manage it for our nation. Again, he arrogantly put himself in a position to say who this committee would be, as well as put himself in a position to have a say how this committee would manage it for our nation. He complains that some of those who were contacted publicly and privately shared his correspondence, including the registered trademark that he attached to the email, on social media, because it is clear that he intended to keep this within the limited scope of those he entrusted with this endeavor. Now, I understand the sensitivity of this being released into the public. However, no matter how you look at it, this matter was already placed in the public when he registered with the federal government, overlooking and disregarding our common law rights that exist in the private based on historic use. He noted here that he has still not shared this federally registered trademark document on social media, understanding the intrinsic value of this intellectual property. Yet, every chance he gets, he continues to push the narrative that he is 100% right and exact, and those that disagree with him don't know any better. This is apparent in an article he wrote in response to the video of Rasheen and I building on the legalities of our universal flag. In addition to several videos and articles he has released since registering the trademark. Aside from the pompous arrogance of it all, I recognize what may be good intentions. However, some of us understand that the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
And I knew he was going to catch it.
He states when he finally had an opportunity to publicly address the initiative via Zoom with all those who were interested, some nation members were with it and some were not. Ultimately, no one could agree what to do with this intellectual property or what nation members were trustworthy enough to manage it. He arrogantly writes, understandably, this never happened before in our nation's history, and many people simply did not know what to do about it. He is arrogantly wrong here. This has happened before, and the conclusion was the same. The trademark was canceled. He would know this if he actually took time to walk and talk with those who have a real history in this nation. He makes it seem as if he recognized there was no consensus amongst us, therefore he shared that he would cancel the trademark, and if nation members wanted to revisit this another time, they know that he could do this for us. This Messiah complex is more than a bit sickening. It's disgusting. How is he overlooking the fact that it could have been done way before he even thought of getting knowledge? And no one needs him to do it if it was decided to do it after the fact. The trademark that he initiated was canceled on July 26, 2022. Not because he came up with the idea to do so, yet because he was instructed to do so. In fact, he was demanded to do so. The Zoom call that took place is recorded and now a part of the National Archives for us to go back and review to see what was said and who said it. Now, the last few paragraphs of Mr. Quinaya's article is very I-centric, where he used the word I at least 50 times, highlighting his own personal accomplishments. He states that he is not sharing some of his experiences to seek acknowledgement or validation. His work as a public figure continues to be globally acknowledged and validated as the single largest digital footprint of any active 5%er in our nation. Now, I'm not sure how he got that, or he came to the conclusion, or how he believes that that is 100% right and exact. He says that this is not arrogance, ego, or self-importance. This is a fact that he doesn't take lightly or for granted. Now, I'm not sure what he's talking about, the single largest digital footprint of any 5% in our nation. His YouTube started in 2007, bringing in a little over 27,000 subscribers and a bit over 3 million views since 2007. In contrast, a law school in Mecca YouTube page started in 2014 now has a bit over 32,000 subscribers with a bit over 6 million views. Perhaps he can write an article telling us what he means by the single largest digital footprint of any 5%er in the nation. However, it is not my intention to get into a pissing contest. I just want a bill to be right and exact. Now, it must be noted and recognized where I do agree with him. We are in an intellectual property era, and we must place high importance on preserving our intellectual property, protect our cultural identity, and controlling our historic narrative in the public domain. Although I stand on the strength of our common law rights that he overlooks and dismisses, I also acknowledge the federal protection can provide another layer of consideration. Federal registration is more robust and a nationwide form of protection for a trademark. However, common law is still significant, especially if there is a well-established history of use and recognition in specific geographic areas. Now, both forms of protection contribute to the safeguarding of intellectual property, yet the scope and benefits differ between the federal registration and common law rights, something for us all to consider. It is important to consider both aspects when dealing with the intellectual property matters to ensure a comprehensive approach that safeguards the rights and interests of our nation. Historically, the 5% has never been a litigious culture. We are not an organization or corporation like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, or Pepsi that looks to go to court to settle disputes. Mr. Quinaya appears to be more litigious in nature. If the nation is to decide to be more litigious in nature, that is something to be decided together as a nation, not by one man in Atlantis-built Niagara Falls, which is approximately 400 miles outside our city of Mecca. Legal discussions and consensus building within the nation is imperative to address these complexities and to find a balanced resolution. Like I said in the beginning of this build, Mr. Quinaya is not 100% wrong, yet he is not 100% right and exact. It would benefit both himself and the culture to build on how litigation fits into the 5% culture. In his article, he acknowledges that he is out of touch, yet still arrogantly asserts that he thinks he knows better or has a superior understanding compared to everyone else in this nation. He writes how at one point during the Zoom presentation, He shared the above image of our universal flag being sold for $399.99 at Walmart. While one nation member said that it didn't matter because that company was not making much money from selling it, another nation member suggested that the company owner be located and educated about who we are. So he says the more he began to hear ideas like this, the more he began to realize and accept that what he had strived to do for us was out of touch with where many of us were and are. It is clear that we had very different ideas about our cultural continuity, historic preservation, the legal vulnerabilities of a litigious society, and the intellectual property era, and our capacity to control our narrative in the public domain. Now, we all have different ideas and different perspectives on how to go about and handle things. We are not a monolithic people. However, I was taught if you want to see a law, all we had to do is come together. Yet it is clear that coming together is not a simple task, especially when you feel like everybody else is wrong and you are right. Some of us with interest in the universal flag just want to build with the man and his ideas.
I like to talk to that brother.
I'm sure the high passion of this topic would raise some voices and the discussion may even become heated. However, it is imperative that we come together to iron out the details of such issues, despite the difficulties of what appears to be a lack of consensus amongst us. He certainly would have to build with many of us that do not agree with him, yet have a genuine interest in a universal flag that belongs to us all. You can't handpick and choose who you want to deal with and overlook the rest. This is the same arrogance that got Born Master run off. It appears the same is happening to Mr. Quinaya, who believe he is right and exact and the rest of us are idiots. And pointing his words back at him, he has displayed a narrow-mindedness, apathy, and unwillingness to come build with us in person about such matters as the universal flag, doing more online posts than reaching out to actual citizens of the nation, especially those who don't agree with him. To reiterate, the man is not 100% wrong, yet he's not 100% right and exact. We become right and exact when we come together despite our disagreements and examine and exercise all possibilities within our grasp. And with that, I leave in the same way that I greet, which is in peace.
If Mecca did this.